What's up guys, and welcome back to another alternate build slash mod. Really quickly before we get going, I want to say thank you to N Ryan for suggesting this build. I love doing viewer requests, so make sure you leave yours down in the comments below and it could become a video. But now let's move on to the shuttle. And as you can see by the title of the thumbnail, we're going over a set that I couldn't really modify. And I'll explain that a little bit later on. But for now, let's take a look at 75301, the Imperial Shuttle. So as you guys can obviously see, I definitely did modify it and I was able to modify it. But what I mean by couldn't is that I don't really think I succeeded. Even now, I'm not the happiest with the result that I have in front of me, but I'm okay with what I've achieved. So if any of you guys have read any Legends comics, you might be familiar with the Kappa class shuttle. If not, I'll put a photo up on screen here. But this was another shuttle in the traditional shuttle line in the Imperial Navy in Legends. And as you can see, it bears many design similarities to the Sentinel and Lambda class shuttles that we've seen in Star Wars. And I like how the ship looks. I like that it looks a little speedier, a little bit more heavy. It looks like it can dish out a little bit more damage than the two shuttles we're more familiar with. And that was the basis for all the mods that you see before you. So let's go ahead and go over the exterior and then we'll head inside. And I believe these mods were using mostly only Imperial Shuttle pieces, but I do believe I picked off a few from the 2018 X-Wing. Now there is an X-Wing that came out alongside this Imperial Shuttle that was downsized just like this one, and I'll be covering an alternate build for that next week, so be on the lookout for that. But this week we're covering the Imperial Shuttle. Going around the exterior of the ship, you very easily spot some large changes that we made. The main one being the removal of the large top fin, as well as changing up the design of the side wings. The side wings are a whole lot shorter now, and they go more forward rather than down the side of the craft. I do like the design of these wings, but I don't think it really matches with the rest of the craft. These look like they belong on some sort of stealth craft or some kind of interceptor, not really a large shuttle like this. But moving up from that, we move on to the hinges and the turrets, and you can see I've added a little bit of detail around these ball turrets attached to the wings. And then we may have changed up a few pieces around these front turrets on the sides, but they remain mostly stock. I don't quite remember the original Imperial Shuttle too well, so I can't say if I added in these little details here, but I know I added on some bits and pieces here or there. Like up towards the front of the interior space, you can see we've armored up this front panel just a little bit and helped smooth it out to the main hull here. On the top side, of course, we chopped off that top fin, smoothed it out, and then added two small blasters up here. And then on the back side, we have that standard rear turret, and we added some little hinge pieces to help cover up some of that empty space that allowed you to see inside. And then the last thing being adding one engine to both wings to just give it a little bit of extra power and a little more speed when it's fighting. And I really love how these little wing engines look. There's some extra little side engines, but the one thing that absolutely kills them for me is the fact that I had to use this piece in black rather than white. Unfortunately, I just couldn't find any of these in white, so I just had to settle with the color that I had. And it doesn't look awful, but I definitely think it takes away from the look and how much cleaner it could look. But that pretty much covers the main hull of the ship. The last thing we have to go over is the cockpit. And many people, including myself with the original set, we were incredibly unhappy with how the cockpit sat. It looked really funky and it looked really out of place. And I'm pretty happy with the cockpit I have on this ship now. I do think it's just a little bit too close to the main hull of the ship, but I do think it sits at a better angle than the original set did. On the underside of the cockpit, we do just have a little bit of grille detailing, and we did remove the stud shooters from either side and just replaced it with some bar detailing. Other than peeling off the stud shooters and changing the angle that the cockpit sits at and moving it closer to the main hull, we didn't really change much. It's overall still the same design from the original set, just moved closer to the main hull. And on the inside there, you can't really get a good look through the glass, so we'll go ahead and open it up. But this brings me into my next issue with my design. It only opens up this much with the main hull mods that I've done. So I definitely have plenty of motivation to revisit this project in the future. Now this actually isn't the biggest problem in the world, because I can still get my fingers in here and get my minifigure out and back in, no problem. But it's just a little too tight, and it should be able to open up a little bit more so you have easier access to the interior space in case you want to place any accessories or just move around your minifigures to certain positions. And unfortunately, without disassembling the set, I can't get you a good look at the control panel, so we're going to do some minor disassembling so you can take a look at that. It is incredibly dark. I can't quite get some good light in there, but you can see the only detailing I've added in the cockpit was some handlebar pilot sticks and then one red stud. Now, like the rest of the set, I'm relatively okay with it, but I do want to add some more detail in there if I revisit this project in the future. But with our interior space open because we had to disassemble a little bit, let's go ahead and get in there and see what we did. So like I mentioned previously, I don't quite remember what the original Imperial Shuttle looked like on the inside, but I do believe I've increased the interior space just a little bit. I think there might have been one more row of bricks on either side, and I think I took those out to add more minifigure space. Towards the front of the interior space, you can see we have a control panel. I like to think that the passengers can use this to help assist with all the turrets around the ship because there are many weapons around here, and it would be nice to have a co-gunner helping you out alongside the pilot. And on either sides of the control panel, we have a seat for one minifigure, and in these, like any cargo container, you could store whatever you want. I don't actually think I have anything in here right now though, but you could put whatever you wanted. So we'll go ahead and get those back inside, and they do actually sit offset on a stud just slightly towards the back, so you do have a little bit more minifigure arm room slash accessory room. But that pretty much covers the interior space, so we can go ahead and close it up, and closing it up is actually a little tough because it technically might be illegal. So in the original set, you had this bar piece that would lock in down below to lock the top half to the bottom half, but mine just sits loose, but the bar piece does remain. So you can see that bar piece is sitting on top of that slope piece, and it's not allowing this top hatch to close. To fix that, when you're bringing the roof down, you just have to push it inwards so it's towards the inside of the ship and then bring it down, and then it'll sit level perfectly fine. However, it no longer locks in, so you cannot lift the set up by the roof. That pretty much covers everything we did to 75302, the Imperial Shuttle. So like I mentioned earlier, and as you see in the title and thumbnail, I was absolutely able to modify this set, but the reason I say I couldn't is because I'm not the most happy with it. And I know we went over that a little bit earlier, but I just want to explain that a little bit more. And I know that sounds confusing, but it really just means that I'm happy with the model and what I've done to it, but as we've seen throughout the video, there are many spaces that I wish I could have improved upon that I didn't in the past. It doesn't mean that I'm unhappy about anything that I did. I still had a whole lot of fun modifying, building, and playing with this set. It's really tough to have a bad time with Legos, even when you're stumped and you're a little bummed that your original idea didn't work out or you're not quite getting it like you thought you would. I still had fun doing this. And once again, like we mentioned in the beginning, I want to thank Ryan for suggesting this. It's always fun doing viewer requests, and I love when you guys give them to me, so I hope this encourages you guys to leave more down in the comments below because it could become the next video. So thank you, Ryan, for the suggestions. But that pretty much covers everything we did to this little Imperial Shuttle. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys did, go ahead and drop a like down below, and make sure you subscribe so you stay up to date on any future alternate builds or mods that I post. Like I mentioned, an X-Wing came out in the wave alongside this Imperial Shuttle, and next week we're going to see the alternate build that I did to that, so stay tuned for that. And other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace, fellas.